And so you can begin filling that out, and then when you're ready, you can turn it into our Secretary Bonnie over here on the side, over on your right. And then when it's time for public input, we will call up those who have submitted a form. And we just encourage, if you're here with multiple people all to say the same thing, we just encourage you to select one of you to share comment tonight. So, okay. We are going to welcome you all here tonight. It is Tuesday, January 28th, and the time is 6:13 p.m. We are convened as the Provo City School Board of Education, meeting at 280 West, 940 North in Provo, Utah, and we'll begin with a roll call, and we'll start with Melanie.
Melanie Hall, Board Member.
Emily Harrison, Board Member.
Van Wagenen, Board Member.
Wendy Dow, Superintendent.
Jennifer Partridge, Board President.
Gina Hales, Board Vice President.
Tara McCabe, Board Member.
Lisa Boyce, Board Member.
Devin Daly, Business Administrator.
Monica Tuona, Student Board Member.
Hutch Wallace, Student Board Member.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to start our business meeting?
I move that we convene our business meeting.
Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are now in our business meeting. And we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will be led by Jared Seitz, our Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So the next item on our agenda is our time for public input. And so as you are done filling out your forms, if you'll turn them in to Bonnie over here. And then we will give each person who's giving public input up to 3 minutes to share their thoughts and their comments. And just to kind of explain how it works, we are so happy that you're here to share with us. But as a rule, we are here to listen and to not respond tonight exactly to what you're saying, but we will follow up on things that may come up in your comments. So. All right, so our first public comment is Chris Hardy, and we'll have you come up and state your name and the elementary boundary which you reside in.
Hi, my name is Chris Hardy, and I actually live in Orem, but my wife and my stepdaughter live here in Provo, and my stepdaughter goes to Franklin Elementary. How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay, thank you. I put this together really quickly, so I apologize if it's not, if it doesn't flow as well as I wanted it to. I'm here to speak about the executive order on immigration that you spoke about in the study session. Schools and churches are listed throughout federal agencies as sensitive locations, sometimes called protected areas. As of January 25th, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement website instructed officers to, quote, refrain from taking enforcement actions at or near locations or protected areas to avoid restricting people's access to essential services or engagement in essential activities. That website defines enforcement actions to include but not be limited to arrests, civil apprehensions, searches, inspections, seizures, the service of charging documents or subpoenas, interviews, and immigration enforcement surveillance. In an October 27, 2021 memo, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security stated, quote, this principle is fundamental. We can accomplish our enforcement mission without denying or limiting individuals' access to needed medical care, children access to their schools, the displaced access to food and shelter, people of faith access to their places of worship, and more. Adherence to this principle is one bedrock of our stature as public servants. But the Department of Homeland Security released its new policy on January 21st that it claims rescinds previous guidelines that quote, thwart law enforcement in or near so-called sensitive areas. Merriam-Webster defines so-called as commonly named or falsely or improperly named. It appears that DHS has no longer considered schools and other previously sensitive areas as protected. In its memo on this that came out just recently, quote, criminal aliens, including murderers and rapists who have illegally come into our country, will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. That's what the DH memo states. It's unclear whether DHS means that students, teachers, administrators, school employees, or parents are the criminal aliens, murderers, and rapists that are hiding in schools. It's also unclear whether school districts and individual schools can stop immigration officers from entering, whether children can be removed from schools, whether immigration officers can or will make arrests on or near school grounds, or how to protect legal U.S. residents from interrogation or detention.
Your time is up. If you can just finish up for us. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. I'm almost done. Notably, nobody's talking about the impact that these activities might have on students. Will Provo School District allow, and you've answered that one, will it protect or insist on protection in and around schools? How will this body communicate with parents and respond to the rapid-fire changes coming from the White House between today and the next board meeting? Thank you for your time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. All right, next is Jared Curtis. And state the elementary boundary.
Hello, Jared. Timpanogos is the elementary. Got a girl in there and one in Provo High. I won't take the 3 minutes or the 4 minutes or however many you're given now. I think that the school board has probably already spent more time than they need to on some of these political issues like the political things with having people feel safe to go to school because people think that they're going to get detained by ICE. I don't think that we need to, as a community, worry about every single criminal act. So if let's say I go speeding and I hide in a school, are they going to stop somebody from going in? It's just a ticket. Like, I know you're not in charge of a lot of things, so just stay out of it. I've had problems when you get into things that you're not very good at, like masks and things with COVID. So I think the more you just stay out of it, the better it'll be. I know that certain people have big concerns about it, and I think that it would be better to help those people out individually, explaining things more than making a political statement, because anything you say is going to be looked at super politically, and I think it will burn more bridges than build bridges. So you probably already said enough, even in board meetings and other things, in my opinion. The end.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. All right, next is Susan Sissoko. Sorry if I got that wrong. And if you'll state the elementary boundary and say your name.
Okay, my name is Susan Sissoko. My child goes to Provo Peaks Elementary. Not to discredit anyone's feelings, but the majority of the students that go there are of the affected community, not of the majority in Provo. So with that being said, it is a big problem. And if you don't say anything, that also is a political stance. I'm just going to simply read. Dear members of Provo City School District Board, I'm writing, which I will be writing this letter, but I am reading it out loud, about the well-being of all students, including undocumented children preventing U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement from entering our schools. This request is rooted in both federal law and fundamental responsibility of schools to serve as safe havens for all children. Under FERPA, schools are legally obligated to protect privacy of students and their families. Specifically, don't expose anything to third parties without a consent of parental consent or a subpoena. With that said, the U.S. Supreme Court also made it clear that public schools must be accessible to all children, regardless of immigration status. When children are present in school buildings, the school assumes responsibility for their care in place of their parents. The combination of legal and moral obligations grants schools both the authority and the duty to protect students, including undocumented children, from unnecessary threats, such as the presence of immigration officials. I'm going to speed past because I will send this in an email. Our schools should be a place where every child feels safe, valued, empowered to learn. I'm going to stop with that sentence on that letter. I am a U.S. citizen. I was born here. I was raised here. However, with these policies, I am scared. My mother is a Puerto Rican citizen who is scared. That is ridiculous. No one should be scared to go anywhere, especially schools. My 7-year-old, who is a Black Puerto Rican child, is scared to go to school. He is scared that some of his friends will not be there the next day. How am I, as a mother, supposed to explain this to a child when I, as a grown adult who's 36, can barely wrap my head around it? So with that said, I would urge the school board to please send a notice to parents, particularly in the community that's being targeted, assuring them that schools are a safe place for them to send their children to, that their children will go back home, they can continue to learn. I have met with a lot of members in our community that do not speak English, that are affected and very scared of this situation. I've passed people on the streets going to school and hear them, and they won't say anything because they are scared. I am using my privilege as a Puerto Rican who is legal and a U.S. citizen to speak on behalf of people who are scared out of their mind to say anything. Please say something. We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Soko. Appreciate that. All right, next is Ethan Unclesby. Please state your name and the elementary boundary where you live.
I think I only have 20 seconds left. Should I hurry? My name's Ethan Unclesby. I live in the Timpanogos boundaries. I have a child at Timpanogos, and I have a pre-K at Provo Peaks. Loved attending the prior meeting. Loved seeing a bunch of familiar faces that I got to know during the strategic plan committee meetings. Good to see many of you again. It's not bad to see any of you again. In the previous meeting, it was mentioned that there's a perception that the parents who are reaching out, the constituents who are reaching out to you, are not those who are affected by the recent executive order. I would like to correct that. I am a legal United States citizen. I'm white. I was born here. I am at the top of privilege. And my child is scared that his friends won't be there tomorrow. I love the school district has a policy and is willing to enforce a policy that if you don't have a warrant signed by a judge, you're not allowed in the school. I love that there's a plan in place to train administrators that when somebody comes and says, we do have a warrant, we are here to make an arrest, that the office contacts an administrator, the administrator works with the superintendents, that the whole school district at the highest level gets involved to investigate the legitimacy of that. That's excellent. We need to make sure that uninformed front desk employees don't make a mistake. What happens to a school when somebody just lets in someone who claims to be an ICE agent, who claims to be a police officer? What happens to our children then? Finally, it was discussed, if I understood correctly, that principals would be allowed to decide on a school-by-school individual basis how they're going to convey this message to parents, how they're going to respond. I do agree that it's okay to let individual schools, individual principals and administrators convey the message, as long as the message is uniform. If the message is not uniform, then one administrator who is a racist or a coward will sell out their school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Unklesby. All right, next is Rachel Unklesby.
My name is Rachel Unklesby, same school boundaries as Ethan Unklesby. I echo everything that my husband just said. I am also very concerned at the possibility that, given the amount of shootings we've had, that someone might take this executive order and say, great, ICE agents are always allowed in schools. I have a free ticket. We need to make sure that we're properly vetting people. I'm also concerned about the possibility of someone being arrested, interrogated, whatever is happening, and that seems unclear from the executive order, whether this is designed to bring out adults who might be working in the schools or whether children are going to be detained. If they're going to be interrogated, they don't know their rights. They're 5. If they're detained, if they are detained, how are their parents being informed? Do they have access to medical equipment or medications that they might need? Are they going to be permitted a phone call like any other detainee would? Will they understand what's going on? I'm also deeply concerned about the impact that this would have on students watching. Are ICE agents going to be allowed in school? Or if they do show up with a judicial warrant, is a teacher going to go take care of whatever needs to happen discreetly? Or are children going to see this happen? I apologize, I have a difficult time speaking and crying at the same time. I think my primary concern is that we think about the actual things that would happen in this instance, both to the people watching and to the people being detained. And that includes thinking through the actual process beyond someone comes to our school, what do we do? It includes someone comes to our school, what do we do immediately? What do we do while they're making an arrest or an interrogation or whatever is happening? What do we do afterward? Who do we contact? Who needs to know about this? Where are they going? And how do we tell people where they're going? And what further information or needs do they have? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Unklesby. All right, and Carol Long.
Hi. So I'm in the Timpanogos district, but my son goes to Treeside Charter. And I just wanted to quickly share a few things I've learned this last week that might be helpful. So I was able to go to a meeting with a lawyer who who is sharing with the community about their rights and what to do in very specific situations like school, home, work, etc. And something that I thought is important to help frame for everyone how scary this is. He's an immigration lawyer. He looked at lots of ICE arrest records, and the number one charge for deportations was driving without a license. So labeling people who are contributing to our economy, who are paying taxes, who are working, taking their children to school, and they are getting deported in large numbers, not because of violent crime, but because they were driving without a license, which you can't do if you're undocumented. You can't get a license here in Utah. So he was recommending, if you know anyone, I know this is being recorded, so if you know someone, like carpooling's better for the environment anyways. So carpool, because they're gonna try to find any reason to deport someone. I met with the director of my son's school, and I shared some resources with her, and she very quickly sent out an email to our schools, to our school community, saying, citing FERPA and talking about we will look for a judicial warrant. No one's allowed into the school unless we see a judicial warrant, but also before any further action, they'll contact parents and they'll have the school's lawyer come before anything happens. And she had shared with me a story of how one time a police officer made an arrest at the school because, this is the only place we can find this person. It'll be quick, it'll be easy, but it wasn't. It was traumatizing. Everyone in the school saw it. And to have a very clear stance to the community about what to expect and how this should be handled, it may not solve the problem, but it can give some comfort, because we don't want students to see, we don't want it to happen in the first place, but we don't want students to be traumatized by watching a parent or watching a classmate pulled away from school by armed men. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Long. We appreciate it. Is there any other public comment? All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, for caring enough. It says a lot about our community that you show up, you speak up. I think we all up here share a lot of your sentiments that were shared tonight, and I appreciate the compassion that you have for our kids and for our community members. And I just want to give Superintendent Dow the opportunity to say a few words.
I just want to reassure individuals that we do have really clear processes in place for how we deal with law enforcement that comes into a school. So, for example, we never allow a police officer to go into a classroom and obtain a student, for example. So all of that would happen through an administrator. That would be done very privately. And yes, we have shared with all of our front office staff, they are to inform our principals immediately if someone walks in with a warrant. So it isn't a front office person that handles that particular situation. It would immediately be going to the principal. The resources that we have provided to principals line out our specific procedures that are aligned with district policy, state law. We do not share that information, and the emails information that we've been given have been shared with all principals so they can send that out. So it is a uniform message that has been created by the district, by our communications team. We also on that form shared several websites with our principals that have access to organizations, individuals that they can direct families to if those individuals are seeking that kind of, need that help. And in addition, there's all sorts of rules that also come into play when you're dealing with a child that's under the age of 14. You cannot, a police officer, unless there's immediate danger, cannot question a child without a parent being present. All of those things are all processes that are already in place that we follow. None of that has changed. It doesn't matter, where this individual comes from. So I'm hoping that if we can, and we can encourage, especially our principals, like in our elementary schools, that are serving populations to make sure that that communication goes out. That might be more appropriate, right? And then also, as we discussed in studies session, to have just a general notice on our website, and then to reach out to principals for additional support. And our student family advocates and student services also have access to all of those informations. And those are individuals that are very closely connected to the community. We've made sure that they have access to that as well. So.
Thank you. All right, we will now move on to the next portion of our meeting, in which we are going to convene as the Provo City School District Building Authority to then issue an intent to issue lease revenue bonds. So first, do we have a motion to convene as the Provo City School District Building Authority?
I move that we convene as the Provo City School District Building Authority.
Okay, motion made by Vice President Hales. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Boyce. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now convened as the Provo City School District Building Authority. We did talk about this in our earlier study session tonight, but I will turn it over to Devin to kind of give us a synopsis of what we're doing here tonight in this portion.
So this is an intent resolution that we will be planning on issuing bonds. This is just the intent to explore it. Then in the meeting in February, the second meeting in February, we will do, if this passes, the actual approval to issue the bonds. This will be an issuance of $70 million. What it will do is complete Timpview High School, the most critical issues that are needing to be addressed there, which is the rest of the school, as we found, and the beginning stages and planning stages for the Dixon site, so that we can prepare for that to begin as soon as we determine what that use of the land will be for the district.
Okay, thank you. And then just to add on to that, so we will, a month from now at our meeting, the 25th of February, have that hearing at 6 p.m. But we do have another board meeting in between where just as people can come give public comment on anything, we'd be able to hear people give public comment there, as well as this gives everyone a month to give us feedback through email and through talking to us and all of the ways. So just trying to give everybody an opportunity for that. So, okay, so do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
I move that we approve the resolution expressing intent to issue lease revenue bonds.
All right, motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And now do I have a motion to adjourn as the Provo City School District Building Authority?
I move that we adjourn as the Provo City School District Building Authority.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Boyce. All in favor with aye?
Aye.
And we are adjourned, and we continue now in our business meeting that we had previously convened. And we'll move to our business items. Item 6A, Policy 1100.
Policy 1100 just sets up that our elections are run by Utah County and that the filing deadlines are set by the Utah State Legislature. We did change some language from reapportionment to redistricting.
All right, do we have a motion to approve Policy 1100?
I move that we approve the updated Policy 1100, Board Member Elections and Redistricting as discussed with any changes in the study session.
Good job, Lisa. Thank you for that. Thank you. Board Member Boyce, motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. Any discussion to the motion?
No.
Okay. All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Now Policy 1200.
This is a policy that establishes the fiscal responsibilities of the board, that you have to approve both policies and procedures that are tied to any type of money and budgeting for the Board of Education, and just lines out those duties. It's a new policy.
All right, do we have a motion to approve policy 1200?
I move that we approve policy 1200, fiscal responsibilities of the board as discussed in study session.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. Is that right? Okay. Just couldn't tell who I saw over there. Any discussion to the motion? Okay, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And now policy 1430, public input.
So I went in and looked at statute. It just states that the agenda does have to have a space for public comment, which we've always had. It's a requirement. So this is my suggested change in the language. The board's agenda for the business meeting will always include time for public comment. Public comment cannot exceed 1 hour unless the board votes to extend the public comment period. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve policy 1430?
I move that we approve the updates to policy 1430, public input in board meetings as discussed in the study session.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Board Member Harrison. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Van Wagenen. And discussion to the motion. Are we all good with the way Wendy's phrased it?
Wendy, that is excellent real-time policy writing.
I was like,
You're welcome. I didn't even use
she knows
Chat
how to
GPT.
Got it. Awesome. All right, all in favor with aye?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. And now policy 6023, Title I, and we'll turn that to Devin.
So this policy is specifically required by the state. The meat of the policy has been addressed in several of our other policies, but there needs to be one specific to Title I Part A that is specific to making sure that we don't compare Title I schools differently based on student enrollment or an even factor between the schools without taking into consideration their Title I status.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve policy 6023?
I move that we approve policy 6023, Title I, Part A, comparability as discussed in study session.
Thank you. Motion made by Board Member Boyce. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Vice President Hales. Do we have any discussion?
I just wanted to make a quick statement before I was on the board. This was something that I was trying to understand better and follow, just to make sure that our Title I funding here in Provo and in every district is truly supplemental. And I'm grateful for the job that we're doing, and I'm thrilled to see it in policy so that we don't say, well, they have Title I funding, so we can fund these other things slightly differently, but that it truly is an add-on, that funding, for the additional needs that that school is addressing.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. And now item E, our Canyon Crest School Land Trust Amendments, and we'll have Jared Seitz give us a refresher on this.
The School Community Council at Canyon Crest Elementary has submitted an amendment to change their trust lands plan for this year that includes an adjustment to some language related to the assessments that we offer, as well as a change related to a percentage goal related to English language arts students that's directly tied to 7 identified students that would equate to that change in their goals. We recommend that as you review that you approve.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the amendment to Canyon Crest Elementary's Land Trust Plan?
I move that we approve the amendment to the Canyon Crest Elementary Land Trust Plan as discussed in study session.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Van Wagenen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Harrison. Any discussion to the motion? All right, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And we've come to the end of our agenda items, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the business meeting.
Okay, motion made by Board Member Hall, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.